In a world overrun with an infinite amount of multiverses, originating from a plethora of sources, four longtime friends band together to try to make sense of it all and present it to an audience in an easy-to-digest podcast. This is Geeking Off the Page.
Greetings, geeks. I'm Mike Kitchen, and my aspirations have always been higher than my abilities.
Hey, everybody. This is Trevor. And just like the shirt says, if the zombies are chasing us, I am 100% tripping you.
I'm Gavin, and there's kaiju in my peanut butter.
I'm Troy, and who's on first? So I'd like to welcome everyone here to the latest episode of Geeking Off the Page. It's a gathering of like-minded people that have known each other for going on over 25 years. And what we are doing here is we are culminating together over Zoom to do the thing that we used to do when we were sitting in the same place all during college for animation. And that's just talk the shit about all the things that are pop culture, mostly comic books, video games, movies, and stuff like that. We are generally geared towards the movie genres, which are now going to be mostly comic book stuff, but we go all over the place. We go all over the map. So like I said, this is the 17th week in a row that we've been doing this. So everyone that's been coming along, thanks for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. Check out the other stuff because it's kind of interesting, but we're here for a bit of a time. We roughly run out about 2 hours an episode, and this is what you get.
Roughly 2 hours.
Roughly 2 hours, yes. All right.
Except for the 5-hour ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Boring people 2 hours at a time, 17 times in a row.
There you go. Well, there was that less than an hour episode that we had. So
we
that
didn't
was
try.
No, that was a disaster of an episode. Then there was the missing episode. So technically this is our 18th episode. But anyways, you'll never hear that missing episode because it was never recorded. So anyways, as we go on to this sort of deal, we'll stop rambling and go on to what we usually start off every single episode, or mostly every single episode, as we start doing our coming attractions. So we talk about all the trailers that were released to us over the previous week. And this week we have actually quite a few to get through. And what we're going to start off with is the first one, which is personally one of my favorite ones to be seen this week is we got yet another trailer for Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now this one gives us a little more of the storyline and all that, and it gives us more footage than what we have seen before. Now, if everyone has seen all the trailers up to this point, you'll know that there's a lot of stuff going on. We know that Egon's daughter and her two kids are now moving into the middle of central of America, the central part of North America, of Americana. Thank you. And we discover that a bunch of Egon's stuff is Ghostbusters related, is all in this abandoned farm, and we experience what it is to be a kid discovering what Ghostbusters used to be back in the day. So what did you guys think of this particular trailer?
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I really want to see this movie. This was the movie I think we were supposed to get in 2016 and didn't. It's a beautiful continuation of Ghostbusters 1 and 2. I like the fact that the two kids are not just Egon clones. In a way, actually, the older kid, the one from Stranger Things, feels more like a Ray. He's a little bit more mechanically inclined. And you know, the daughter is definitely more of an Egon, even with the hairstyle. And there's a lot of little call outs, like they even show the commercial, like on YouTube, they show the commercial.
I love that moment.
And that was a great moment. The very end, when the red phone rings, you don't see who picks it up, but it's 100%. The voice and says we're closed, and you're like, thank God he's in it. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be lining up to see this one. It's the one I wanted to see in 2016 and didn't. Anyone else?
Who's next?
Well, you seem to be. Yeah, there you go. All right, why not? When there's a lull, let's turn to Gavin.
And Gavin's done.
That's your cue, Gavin. Right. There you go.
Did everyone freeze?
No, just you.
Sorry, everything so completely froze.
Oh,
I know.
Really?
I thought that was a dramatic pause.
I thought so too. I thought he was. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
no.
Okay, what do you have to say about this Afterlife, Gavin?
I gotta say, I'm quite excited. I'm with Trevor on this. This feels like it's a good homage to the original, as well as incorporating a lot of small things like the conspiracy theories and all that. Like when they were going through, there's all the stuff on the side was like, did the Ghostbusters really exist? It's like starting to parrot some of the QAnon type stuff that you see on YouTube. And it's like it's an entire country being gaslit into thinking Ghostbusters never existed. And I think this is gonna kind of be the comeback for Ghostbusters as into the modern society.
Yeah, I'll second that as well. So what I will actually say is what Trevor was disappointed in the 2016 version, and I will say that I actually really enjoyed the what was it called? Ghostbusters. What is the subtitle they actually ended up giving it later on? Anyways, that's not really that important right now, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the chemistry that the characters had between each other. Now, unfortunately, it didn't seem to have the same feel as the original Ghostbusters did, which was understandable, doing a whole entire different universe and whatnot, and having to do a loose sort of reboot, but then turns out to be connected somehow in the final scene of the actual movie. But I am, like the others, totally looking forward to this coming out. I believe it is on the 11th of November for everyone to see a continuation of the Ghostbusters story. And it's not like it's an homage to the original. It's just is technically the next movie in the series because you are being connected back right to the original. I love how this new trailer has Annie Potts in it front and center, and how she's talking so lovingly about Egon and all that. It's just going to be, I have a feeling it's going to be a tearjerker of an opening to this movie, just getting over the fact that we now know that Egon has passed on, sort of thing. And like you guys said, that ending where they call the phone number and you totally know it's Bill Murray's voice, because how can you mistake?
Dan Aykroyd. It's Dan Aykroyd's.
Wasn't it Bill Murray's?
No, it wasn't.
Do I have to watch it again?
Dan Aykroyd.
That was Dan Aykroyd. That was Ray.
But I thought it was Dan Aykroyd.
We're closed. That's.
Then I will watch it again. But anyways, it's one of the original Ghostbusters that answers the phone. So there you go. I've been a fan since day one. I went to see it opening weekend. I actually was wearing an actual Ghostbusters t-shirt when I went to see the opening of the movie with a couple of friends and all that. It's been a fun series. I've gotten into everything about it. I even started building myself a proton pack. I mean, I've got the jumpsuit. I have a group of cosplayers that we all do Ghostbuster themed stuff. We actually have the lab coat versions and all that, which is probably what I'll be wearing because it's a hell of a lot more comfortable than a jumpsuit to wear, but it actually might be warmer than, yeah, exactly. Sitting down in the proton pack. Nah, you know what? I sat down in a Boba Fett costume once with a backpack. It's not comfortable to watch a movie like that.
Rockets shooting all over the theaters.
Exactly. Yeah. This wasn't good. Thankfully, I only had the one missile. It shot off at the beginning of the movie.
Other guy.
Yeah, exactly. Mike, what do you have to say? What do you have to say, Mike?
I'm with Trevor on this. It's the movie I've wanted to see since 1984, at least judging by the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope it doesn't let me down. And I will also say this is exactly what I wanted to see from Stranger Things season 2, which I didn't. Even the fact that they're dressed up in the costumes, it's like, oh, this season's going to be great. And for me, season 2 Stranger Things was a letdown. But to have that small town American feel, like the fact that they went from New York to like middle America, it's great as far as the setting. The fact that it looks like Gowser's coming back, I don't know what the heck's happening with the little Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, but it's a hilarious scene in the trailer. And like, just like you guys were saying too, because it's Ghostbusters through the eyes of children, it's going to be an interesting take. Like, it's going to be something completely new.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to it. Like, everything that I'm seeing in this is everything that I didn't see in all the previous Ghostbusters, including Ghostbusters 2, including the reboot Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really looking forward to this one. You guys
Answer
were talking about the one, the female reboot.
Yeah, the reboot. Answer the call.
Yeah.
With that one, have you guys seen the comparison video? Somebody did that. They took original Ghostbusters and the reboot Ghostbusters and just showed the difference in pacing with editing. And
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating one. Like, there's the elevator sequence where in the original Ghostbusters, it's a still shot. It's all the actors doing their bits. Right. It's all the way they look over and they turn on the proton pack and they just slide
over
out of frame. Compared to the female reboot one where it cuts back and forth and there's silly jokes in between and you never get the drama from the scene.
Now, I
also did that with the alley sequence.
There's stuff I liked in the 2016 Ghostbusters. I think Kate McKinnon nailed her role.
Oh, for
perfectly.
sure.
I mean,
my favorite, yes.
But the problem I think I had, it wasn't like, I don't want women Ghostbusters. I don't care what the gender of the Ghostbusters are. I really don't. That's not a big deal to me. But I think it was just the director just saying, well, I'm doing a nice homage spirit. Like, if you're going to reboot it. If you're going to do a sequel, do a sequel. But don't do this mishy-mashy combination of the two and then get all defensive when people are like, well, what the hell is it? Is it a reboot or is it a continuation? And it was just, like as Mike said, the pacing and the editing, it's like they looked at Ghostbusters but didn't realize what they were looking at and then just tried to imitate it without understanding why the shots were done the way they were. And to me, it was just inferior filmmaking. It really was. Yeah. It was someone trying to say, well, let's slap the modern editing style on a classic, but without understanding why the classic works. And that's where that movie fell apart for me. I mean, the 2016 Ghostbusters had some great visuals. That whole giant like parade fight was great. Again, Kate McKinnon killed it when she's like pulling out the little one, like the little hand blasters and stuff. But yeah, there's just so much of that film that I came into the theater just going, And then when I heard that Afterlife was being announced, and especially when you saw the first couple of trailers, I was like, oh my God. First time I saw The Farmhouse, it jumped me right back to the original 84 Ghostbusters when Ray was complaining about getting a third mortgage on this house. He grew up in this house. And I was thinking, is this Ray's house? And then we find out it's Egon's. And I'm thinking, did Egon buy it off of Ray? Is this where or was this Egon's, was this the house Egon grew up in, sort of thing? So these are questions I have that I know for a fact they're going to answer it in this film. But I'm sitting here going, I gotta know. I have to wait till November? Well, damn. So, yeah.
Yeah, as far as the female Ghostbusters thing, I thought when they released the information that it's going to be an all-female Ghostbusters, I thought that is totally something Peter Venkman would do. If he's going to hire on the next generation, yeah, of course he'd hire on a bunch of hot women. And Gavin's gone. Bye, Gav. Come back soon.
Bye, Gav.
So anyways, I thought that was a genius idea until it was a complete redo. Like, it wasn't connected. And to me, they desecrated the original, which really bothered me.
I'm just hoping Ray Parker Jr. gets to do the next theme song.
Pull him out of storage. I'm really admit that is the most devastatingly disappointment about that 2016 version is whoever the hell did their version of the Ghostbusters. That was oof. Anyway,
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Gavin says internet went screwy. Be right back.
Okay, kind of figured that. All right, because all of a sudden that's the sign something popped up on my screen. You are now the host. I'm like, yeah, I was. Oh, Gavin's gone down.
But yeah, I just hope they ask Ray Parker Jr. to do the theme song to the Afterlife.
Right.
Bring it full circle. Why not?
Okay, and next up on our list of trailers is we got one that I unfortunately didn't get around to, but I'm going to try and watch this while the guys go on about it. But this is the animated feature by Phil Tippett called Mad God. So,
Are you fucking kidding me?
And there goes our language filter.
Oh, Adrian.
All right, guys, talk about the movie.
I'll let you start. You worked with the man.
All right. So for me, one of my biggest career highlights was working for Phil Tippett when Empire Strikes Back came out. That Adat Walker sequence was one of the main reasons I got into animation. It was that and Roger Rabbit. There's like those two things made me want to pursue animation and film. So when the opportunity came up to work for Tippett on Hellboy, that was definitely a career highlight for me. So years back, I forget the exact year, but he did the Kickstarter for Mad God. And so this was a personal project for him. And a bunch of friends that I had from the studio were working on it. So anyways, it excited me that, Phil was able to do a passion project again with stop motion animation. And again, because he was an animation idol of mine, definitely backed it. And it was a fairly short thing. But now to see that this, I guess, extended version's coming out and it's getting completed, like I'm getting excited about that. Like, what do you think, Trev?
When I saw this trailer pop up, I was like, "Ooh, what's this?" And then it said, this is Phil Tippett's Mad God. I'm like, "Ooh, even more excited." Because, I was in the same boat as Mike. When I saw the Walker scene, way back, 81, I remember sitting in the theater and just like, that is so awesome. And I wanted to know how it was done. But back in 81, there's no internet. And I remember hunting through my school library, going to the magazine section, and I found, I don't even know what magazine it was, but it was a whole thing on Phil Tippett and stop motion. And that led me down the rabbit hole, Ray Harryhausen, all of that stuff. And I basically absorbed that article. Every picture I examined every way I could. And I was like, this is so awesome. And then, you fast forward and Return of the Jedi and more of the stop motion stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, this stuff is amazing. This is great. This is everything I want to do. And at one point I was like, I wanted to go into puppeteering. I mean, this is how much it influenced me. And yeah, it was a big thing. So when I saw this trailer and watching the trailer, I'm like, this brought back all of that childhood nostalgia. Because stop motion is not used as much as it was back then. I mean, you got CGI that basically does it better, but stop motion just there's a particular feel because it's actual physical models being
right. You can see it and you can tell it's real. Like those textures are real. The lighting's real.
Exactly. I mean, there are people who are now specializing in doing CGI, making it look like stop motion, but they're not quite there yet. You can always tell that's CGI versus that's an actual miniature. And so watching this, I was blown away. And I immediately looked up, where's this playing? Of course, not around here. And I cursed quite loudly. Anyways, so I've been following this. And when I found out that you were working for Tippett Studio at one point, I was like, oh, this is great. And I watched this whole featurette and read an article that Tippett just released based off of Mad God, and saying that this is his swan song. This is him. When he's done this, he's pretty much packing it up. He's said everything he wants to say, and this is his final note. And I'm watching this trailer. I'm like, this is going out on quite a big note. I mean, this is everything that any budding filmmaker dealing with even CGI want. I mean, there's so much atmosphere to this, and in the few visuals we see, there's so much story going on. There's so much going on in the foreground, the middle ground, the background. This is like, it's a masterclass in stop motion, in animation in general, and storytelling. And I can't wait to see the completed project. So if you haven't seen the trailer, Hint, hint. Watch it. And then Troy has left the building.
You didn't see it at all, Gavin? Did you see anything from Matt?
Oh, I watched it. Yeah. No, I watched it. I was.
What do you think?
I was thrown back into the mid '80s. Like, just that wonder that I had watching RoboCop and watching Ed 209 stomping around.
Yeah.
You know, the what Jurassic Park could have been had what's his name, Steve Williams, not suddenly gone, hey, Steven Spielberg, this CG thing we got going on here. Want to have a look at this? So I don't know how true that anecdote about him being told that his Phil Tippett being told his job was extinct. I don't know how true that is.
But he was still running the show on that. He was still the dinosaur supervisor.
Yeah, he was
the dinosaur wrangler.
Yeah.
And they made the armatures that would control the computer animation. So it was, even though it was new tech, like I don't think that's even been done since then.
No,
but
they
the
haven't
fact
used
that they had puppets
monkeys.
of the dinosaurs to animate the CG models.
Yeah.
Well, they also
did
still
that for the
use a lot
movie.
of models too for the actual dinosaurs, like full size maquettes.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. Was it only like 4 or 5 minutes in Jurassic Park was CG? But they used
the T-Rex, the full-size T-Rex was a good portion of their budget.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was. We had when I was in computer animation at Sheridan, we had both Steve Williams came up and gave this great talk, and then I'm trying to think. There was someone from Phil Tippett Studio came up and brought the T-Rex armature, the monkey, and showed how they, because we had the parts of a monkey in the 3D studio lab. No one ever used it because it was a pain in the ass to build and even harder to get it to interface with Softimage at the time. So they brought up the T-Rex one and they showed how they used it. And it was, for the most part, it was used to generate all the keyframes because they could pose it to exactly where they needed it to, rather than sitting there on the computer and with a mouse and like a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here. I just remember the guy who came up, he said, Phil could look at the armature and go, that's wrong. The spine needs to be changed here, here, and here, the tail here, the head here, the arm here. And they'd be like, well, yeah, that's it 100%. But he said, it was both Steve Williams and this guy said, it was Tippett that said, when he watched the CG, the demo stuff, he's like, my job's extinct. And he thought he was ready to step out of the project entirely. And then they were like, we kind of need your expertise because this took us the better part of a year to just get the T-Rex to walk. So we need someone who knows how to do this stuff. And as a side note, now this is coming from Steve Williams. The official story is Dennis Muren had Steve Williams and his crew at ILM doing the dinosaur, like doing the T-Rex stuff off on the side, off the books. According to Steve Williams, Muren was no part of that project at all. After they broke into the meeting and showed the CG, that's when Muren stepped up and said, oh yeah, I've been spearheading these guys. He had nothing to do with it, but he was quick to take the credit for it. The second Spielberg was like, I'm excited about this, Muren stepped up and said, oh yeah, I've been working with these guys. And it's funny, Steve Williams at Sheridan, he's like, we were the guys running around in the basement at ILM with tensiometers strapped to our legs to figure out the forces involved for an animal that big to walk. This guy was nowhere to be found. We weren't paid for all this stuff. We did this on our own time, which little time we had. But he was, Muren was the first one to run up to the stage when it got an Oscar for special effects. So, yeah, take that as you will. Roy?
Yeah, okay. All right. So next, I believe that was all that we got there, right? We're good with that?
Sure.
Okay. As people will see on the Zoom, I wasn't there for that conversation at all. So we're just going to move on to the next one, which is Army of Thieves, which is the prequel to the Army of the Dead by Zack Snyder. Now, in this particular version, he's actually, as far as I know, he's only producing this movie, and it is completed, but Netflix is listing it at best is coming soon. And so it follows a couple of the characters that we were introduced to in the original movie, Army of the Dead. And so what do you guys think about this particular thing? Now, I know it does basically, as if I remember correctly, takes place at the actual start of the outbreak, if I'm not mistaken, correct? In the trailer?
Is it the start of the outbreak? I don't think it's...
I know there's like news reports while the safecracker is trying to figure somehow. He's actually seen like news reports of the actual zombie apocalypse starting.
Should we pause the recording here so the other two can watch it?
Let's do that then. If I can bring back the meeting, and I will pause that for now. See you guys in a second.
Trevor rents are gold. Hey, we're recording. Trevor, you gotta start your rant again.
All right. So when this first popped up on my YouTube feed, I was like, "Oh God, is Zack Snyder just, milking this?" And he is, of course, he is. Just because the what's his face, Ludwig Dieter, the safecracker from Army of the Dead, was such an interesting character. That I could see why you'd want to push ahead with this. And this is not directed by Zack Snyder, so this might actually be a good film. But I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for that one. But honestly, the man's track record is not impressing me. So I kind of like the idea. What's that?
Martha.
Oh God. Among other things, yeah. So this one looks kind of interesting, and I like the safecracker character in Army of the Dead. So this is I think this is right at the initial outbreak. Hopefully someone has included a 5-year-old on the writing staff to point out the plot holes of like, can we carry this much weight? Can the escape vehicle carry this much weight? Is there room for enough people in the escape vehicle and all this stuff we're stealing? Minor plot holes. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Thank God it's coming out on Netflix, because I definitely would not be paying to go see it in the theater. Anyone else?
Yeah, and the only thing that we have is it's being released in fall. So, I mean, it's already completed. It's, again, it is following the most interesting character from the original series. There's a good chance that we might be able to see a follow-up to some of the other characters. Like we might have a prequel of the Dave Bautista, because Bautista has talked about how he would like to work with Zack Snyder again after his experiences with Army of Darkness. We might even get a Nick Notaro prequel story, because her character was actually kind of neat, seeing she actually wasn't originally in the movie to begin with. Getting a prequel movie of her character would be kind of neat. So, but it's just something that, again, to look forward to on Netflix for Halloween, I guess. I mean, looks like maybe is where it's going to go.
Who knows?
Yeah. So after that, we now have a yet another Shang Chi trailer that we can talk about, where we're given again a little more information. We see a little more footage. We now actually see Shang Chi himself getting into that Mortal Kombat situation. We got a little more footage. We got some repeat footage, but we got some more spectacular looking fight sequences, which looks kind of neat. We have some more character interaction, which is kind of cool to see. It's nice to see that everything seems to be come together cohesively, which is kind of neat, because I think Marvel is just going, hey, guess what's coming out next? Shang-Chi. Don't worry about what's coming out after that. Don't worry about the Eternals. And Sony will eventually get to Spider-Man and all that. So, but here's Shang-Chi. It's coming right next. One of the funny things is I showed the trailer to my 5-year-old daughter, and the opening sequence has Shang-Chi's friend, who is portrayed by Awkwafina, and she says, what happened to your shirt? That's the opening line of the trailer. My daughter goes, hey, isn't that the dragon from Raya and the Last Dragon, right? My daughter instantly picked up Awkwafina's voice from the cartoon as this main character and all that, because she delivers it the same as she normally does, and it's all like, so that was kind of neat for her to instantly like, hey, I know that voice. So her connection to the movie is a made up character for this movie, because I don't know if her character actually does really exist in the comic to begin with. Kind of hard to tell, because this is a whole reinvention of the Shang Chi character from what it used to be in the early days of Marvel when they had it as an actual printed thing. But what did you guys think of this another version of and what do you guys think of this, like Marvel deciding, hey, let's throw everything? Because if you go on YouTube, there are featurettes as well. There's like 2-3 minute featurettes progressing towards the actual release of the movie. Like I'm
personally avoiding the featurettes because I want some of the movie to surprise me. I don't want to be able to, through the featurettes, just kind of piece the entire movie together and go, well, I watched it. I like the fact that they showed a little bit of the bus fight. But not so much that I know exactly how it ends up. I'm still, excited to see this movie. That's why I'm avoiding the featurette, so I have something to look forward to. Yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, for myself, to be honest, I didn't even see this new trailer. Although, as the trailers have been getting released, the first one, I was like, I'm not too sure about this one. Second one, I was like, oh no, this looks pretty good. And as it keeps continuing, I'm getting more and more hyped for the film. So the longer things go, the more excited I am for it.
Rabin?
Sorry, I'm just spellbound by what going on with Troy here. Because why not vacuum at 10 o'clock at night?
That's the time to do
during
it.
A podcast. We might as well just turn the camera. Go, Gavin. Don't stop being spellbound by the cleaning. Can you put the camera on Adrian vacuuming though?
I was saying that it feels like it's a new direction for Marvel in terms of the encompassing new characters. It's because there isn't a whole lot that the general Marvel fandom, like the general public knows about Shang-Chi. They can kind of go in any direction they want.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody's gonna say no, that's wrong, because I mean, let's be honest, most of where Shang-Chi came from was from like the early days of Marvel, and there's a lot of trappings on there that could be if done wrong could be considered very offensive in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very happy to see that they're kind of just grabbing the source material and just making it into something for the modern day Marvel fan.
It kind of falls into the same ballpark as Guardians of the Galaxy, where it's
exactly.
like a very C-list team. So it's kind of like, we can do whatever we want with this. So let's kind of reinvent it and bring it up and make it a gigantic blockbuster. It seems like they're doing that with this.
Well, exactly. Like Marvel has managed to do just work with properties that by no rates should appeal to the average moviegoer. But I mean, they basically said, "Oh, look, here's a talking tree and a raccoon with guns. You're gonna love this," and everyone's like, "Yes, we will." The my Facebook reminded me a couple of days ago that Guardians of the Galaxy had released, like I think 5 years ago, something like that, the first one, and it was just like, oh man, this is kind of giving me the same vibe here. My ex at the time looked at me when Guardians of the Galaxy trailer started playing, going like, "This looks like the stupidest thing I've ever seen," and I'm like, going, "No way, man! No, this is gonna be awesome." Next few trailers come out, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm actually starting to find this interesting." And sure enough, bam! It's one of my favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. So I feel like Shang-Chi could be along those lines.
I think from there we're going on to the next trailer, which is What If, which dropped 3 days ago. Their newest trailer. We'll let Mike start with this one. Did you see it, Mike?
I didn't see it. To you, Gavin.
Yeah,
There's a shot in the dark.
I'm up in the Canadian wilderness.
You have internet.
I do. Yeah.
You don't have broadband in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
We just communicate through the mosquitoes.
Exactly. It's like a wireless internet. Do you want me to take the lead on this, Gav, or you want to take it?
Go right ahead.
All right. So this one is a little bit more in depth. It starts with the creation of Captain Carter as opposed to Captain America. So we see a little bit of where she comes from. This is all, this whole show is starting August 11th, which can't get here fast enough. As we've said in previous podcasts, What If is probably one of my favorite comic book series from Marvel. I own the whole run. And yeah, they do a couple of like the transitions. We see for the first time how, a little bit of Killmonger and Tony Stark. In essence, Killmonger is replacing Rhodey in this dynamic relationship. So it'll be interesting to see. And we see that Killmonger is heavily decorated. He's in a uniform. He's got like a chest full of metal. And so we get to see, we're like, oh, well, then how is Killmonger going to replace Rhodey? We see a little bit more of the Marvel zombies. We see Bucky fighting zombified Cap, which again, very interested in seeing. We see a little bit more of T'Challa as Star-Lord. Yeah, this is just I am super thrilled to see this. Every time that one of these What If trailers come out, unlike other stuff where I'm like, no, I don't want to watch the trailer. This I'm like, oh, I'm watching this trailer. I am 100% watching this trailer. So yeah, it's a very short one. Like this trailer is not even 30 seconds long. The new material they had for trailer 3. So they're not giving a whole lot away, but they're giving just enough to kind of like get the fish hook right in my mouth and drag me right to August 11th. I will probably be seeing this when everyone's asleep. That's going to be my prediction.
3 or 4 times already.
Yeah, it'll be a case of by the time the kids wake up, I'll be probably on the 3rd viewing. I'm not lying. It's almost like when they announced that they were doing What If, I was like, someone has been secretly reading my mind, and thank you for that.
So are we going to get a reaction video, Trevor? If you're going to be up at midnight, first one to watch it, you might as well just spam us with the reaction right away.
The whole reaction is just going to be me like this the whole time.
Okay.
Eyes wide open so I miss nothing, not saying a word because I don't want to go over top of the audio. Yeah.
Just release that animated GIF. That'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'll just watch that with your face.
It could just be a still image because I won't even blink for 30 minutes. Let's be.
Now, have we actually found out if it's going to be like episodic, like weekly?
It is episodic.
It is episodic. So they're not going to give us like a couple of episodes in the first drop and then one after?
I hope so, but we don't know.
Okay, so we might be stuck with, well, I mean, not that we're going to be stuck with it, but we're going to have to deal with.
I know I'll be watching some of these episodes at Myrtle Beach, so that happens.
There you go. That's yeah, exactly. But again, like Trevor's already said, it looks like it's what we've grown up reading in the comic book, just now animated, and it looks like it is going to be so much fun. So yeah. So that basically wraps up our whole entire. Unless anyone else wants to say something else.
The first season of What If is 10 episodes. It's going to be concluding as of October 13th, but they've already said that the second season, 10th episode, is already in development.
Nice.
So before they even get the first episode there, they already know like this is going to be a hit. So let's get the second season rolling. So.
All right, that's always good to know. So, well, that's not so bad then. If it's coming out in August, and so we get 3 months of this, which is kind of cool. Well, going over the 3-month period and all that. So yeah, so excellent.
And it's officially part of canon for
yes.
Phase 4.
Yes, just because of the multi-universe of madness.
Mm-hmm. So
thank you.
Whatever sticks, like whatever people are drawn to, I'm sure they'll probably bring it back in some live action form or not. Now,
did you, Troy? I saw that you kind of reacted to that. Someone had figured out. Let's see. At the same moment that Wanda Maximoff,
yes,
aka Scarlet Witch, Elizabeth Olsen, became the true Scarlet Witch, He Who Remains, aka Kang, Jonathan Mayers, says this to the two Loki variants: "We have just crossed the threshold. Both of these events happen exactly at 27 minutes and 55 seconds in the respective episodes." Seconds later, this happens again, because it's just as Agatha hits the ground in WandaVision at 28:14, He Who Remains drops something on his desk. So someone has said the synchronicity is so precise, it's hard to imagine that this was just a coincidence.
Yeah, this is actually the second confirmation of this. I had heard something earlier in the week on one of the podcasts that I'd listened to. It was just a mumbled through message, and I didn't quite catch what it meant. But when I saw that this was posted, I'm like, oh, so that's what they were talking about. Oh my God, that's so freaking amazing.
If they didn't plan this, that's just some eerie ass editing.
Yeah,
if they did plan this,
kudos to beautiful editing. Awesome. It's seamless storytelling is what it is. Yeah.
These guys seem smart enough to do something like that. The people that were writing Loki, they seem like the kind of writers that are planning a couple steps ahead.
Yeah.
And keeping fans on the edge of the seat, and knowing that something like this could happen and could work and someone could decipher it.
Yeah.
Like, who knows if that's what happened or not? But, I wouldn't be surprised if they did it on purpose.
I'm excited to see it. I really am.
Yeah. What if? Definitely. Yeah. And that's the 11th of August. Yeah. So we got like 2 weeks and all that. And that's it.
So we got Suicide Squad this Friday.
Yep.
And then the following Wednesday, What If?
There you go. Yay. And then something's coming out that Friday as well. I can't remember. There was like 3 weekends of
something's coming out. All I know is my daughter's got a black belt exam. We're leaving for Myrtle Beach around there. So
there you go.
We'll see.
All right. Okay. So that brings us to the end of our coming attractions, but we actually have a couple of news articles that also dropped on our way along the same lines as our comic book storylines that we follow.
Free Guy comes out.
Free Guy, that's it. Free Guy comes out that Friday. So there's going to be another fun one Ryan Reynolds. Also, again, it's a delayed from COVID movie, like a lot of these movies that are coming out right now, delayed from COVID sort of thing. But it'll be fun to finally see how much of the movie isn't in the trailers. So But so like I said, there was a couple of news articles that actually dropped for us. And one is how Daredevil is going to be included or intertwined into Phase 4. And now I remember what I've read correctly, it's not 100% sure how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen.
Yeah,
it's going to be Charlie Cox.
It's not going to be Daredevil. It's Charlie Cox as Matthew Murdock.
Yeah, so they're going to be introducing Matthew Murdock, not the actual Daredevil character himself. So yes, so we got Charlie Cox is going to be showing up in Phase 4 somewhere. We're not sure where, we're not sure when, but
I'm calling it She-Hulk 100%.
So
that would be a good one.
That would be actually
based
in New York.
Yeah, face them in the courts.
Yeah,
based in New York.
Yeah,
you can't have a lawyer-based show without one of the most prominent lawyers sitting across from Jennifer Walters.
Nice call.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I mean, everyone is hoping that it's going to be Spider-Man.
I mean, if it is Spider-Man, it'll probably be defending Peter. Someone suing Peter Parker.
Yeah,
and then he's Charlie Cox will be his lawyer, and then they'll have Garfield or Maguire swing by and it's like, well, I can't be Spider-Man because there he goes. And we, case dismissed sort of thing. Probably just a quick.
I still think there's an opportunity there with his secret identity being thrown out there, and J. Jonah Jameson coming after him. It's like, I need a defense lawyer. There's an opportunity for that.
I'm hoping that's what they do. But yeah, if they wait until She-Hulk, I'm good with that too. I really am. I think that'd be awesome to see Matthew Murdock facing Jennifer Walters in the courtroom.
It would be amazing if it started off that it's Foggy going up against Jennifer, and then at the last second, my associate is here, and then Matt comes in at the last minute. That actually, I like
work.
that.
Or even have like the court, like someone saying, the counsel for the defense, Foggy Nelson isn't available, but his associate will be taking his place, and then have Charlie Cox coming through the door and marching and sitting. That I think at that point my jaw would hit the floor and fall off my face. So yeah.
And have you guys
Feige,
heard
if
about
you're
the
listening.
rumors that Kingpin might be joining as well?
Yeah,
I've heard,
I heard
that
about that
apparently
too.
Vincent D'Onofrio has signed on
Yes.
to return to the role of Kingpin, which is
In
fantastic. What was that?
Get him in She-Hulk. That would be awesome.
Yeah, no,
that she has to tackle him both as a lawyer and as a hero.
Yeah, exactly. Because we still don't know 100% sure what's going to happen with She-Hulk, whether it's going to be a procedural. It's going to have to be superhero based because she's going to have to Hulk out at some point. There's no reason for them.
It's been described as a legal comedy.
Yeah, which is
Like,
She-Hulk is a
with
lighthearted
laughs.
comedy.
Oh, no.
She-Hulk is a lighthearted comic book. It is
Like
slightly
Boston
farcical.
Legal with a big green lawyer.
Exactly. Well, at one point when
Sexy female lawyer.
well, at one point when John Byrne was doing She-Hulk, She-Hulk was breaking down the fourth wall well before Deadpool was.
Oh, yeah.
She actually talked to the artist. She would actually have conversations with her artist during panels of the thing. So if it is going to be that way, I hope they do a fourth wall breaking of the character, because that's one of my favorite things about She-Hulk.
That one funny storyline where Jennifer Walters wanted to get a tan, but she was afraid to do it. So she hulked out and basically was sunbathing nude, and someone took pictures, and then the photographer was like, I got pictures of She-Hulk in the nude, gave them to the newspaper, and they color corrected it, not realizing that she's supposed to be green. And then they're like, well, that's not her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I remember that one too. That was that like a one-off story, or was it actually in the middle of something?
It was part of the She-Hulk storyline,
the She-Hulk storyline.
And she was so worried. She was like, oh God. And then they're like, oh, well, that's not her.
Because they didn't tell
anybody.
the person developing the photos, and they thought it was a color correction, so they altered it. So
they
she just looked like
they didn't get the face, they got most of her body, sort of thing.
Yeah.
They're like, we got pictures of She-Hulk naked.
That's right. I completely forgot about that.
Color corrected the negatives.
Yeah.
Not the prints, the negatives. And it was just like, well, yep, that's ruined, because they can't color correct it back, because everyone's going like, oh, you're faking it now.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that one. That was actually pretty good. Yeah. But so that's kind of cool. One of the other
stories. I think that scene will be in the Marvel series, the Disney Plus.
I don't think so. If it was on Amazon or HBO, probably. On Disney, probably not.
No, probably not Disney. No.
They're pretty good about sanitizing everything.
Star maybe, but not Disney. Not Disney Plus. Yeah. The other story that we got is we have some fallout from Black Widow, and it turns out that Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney for basically the idea is the deal that she got when she signed on for this movie. She was going to be paid $20 million for the role, and then was getting a proportion of the back end of the movie, which if it was theatrically released pre-COVID, we're looking at a huge amount of money that Scarlett Johansson was getting. Now things have come through, and unfortunately it got released. And what happened is it was released both theatrically and on Disney Plus, when originally there was supposed to be a window of time that it was going to be theatrically, then released onto Disney Plus, but Disney Plus decided to drop it at the same time. This hence means that there was less money made in the theatrical release, which is where Scarlett Johansson was going to get money, and that she wasn't seeing any of the Disney Plus money. So she is suing Disney for almost, it doesn't seem like a breach of contract, but it's along those sort of lines. Now, I know
they're calling it a breach of contract.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing is part of this is stemming from the whole deal that Robert Downey Jr. had done. Like he was actually not the highest paid actor for Iron Man. So when they wanted to do Iron Man 2, he renegotiated his contract. He got the lion's share of the budget slated for actors. And then I think it was for Avengers, because they had all these big names coming at once. He was like, tell you what, I won't take the lion's share of the actors' budget, but I want percentage on the back end.
Yeah. Exactly.
And other actors have done this. Tom Hanks famously has done this many, many times. Harrison Ford has done this many, many times. So, I mean, at the time, they didn't think Avengers was going to be $1 billion movie. But I was looking it up and adding it together. Since Avengers, Robert Downey Jr. has had this part of his contract. Every movie he's been in from Avengers going forward, he has had this, percentage of the back end. He doesn't take as large of a salary up front, but takes percentage of back end. And it's a risk. It's a gamble. The actors have to realize this is a gamble. If the movie flops, you don't make peanuts. Like Harrison Ford has said for Cowboys and Aliens, he did not make as much money. If he had just taken the $20 million they had originally agreed to pay him for the movie, he would have come out ahead, much further ahead than he did, because Cowboys and Aliens barely broke even. So it's
another Jon Favreau movie.
Yeah, and it's a risk. You're gambling that if you take a little bit less on the front, you're going to make it up on the back end. Like the couple of the Lord of the Ring actors did the same thing, and they made like tremendous bank. But Robert Downey Jr., I think I stopped counting at 300 million is what he's made on the back end of all these films. So I think in this case, Scarlett Johansson said, well, I'm getting my own solo film. Why not? Now they paid her 20 million up front. For the longest time, 20 million was the benchmark. If a studio hired you at 20 million to do a film, you've hit your A-list, you've hit that benchmark. Jim Carrey famously had a $20 million check he had written to himself that he had written before he even really became a big actor, or even did In Living Color. And that he said one day he's going to star in a film and he'll be able to say, this is the check. This is me getting that $20 million paycheck. But then to turn around and say, well, I'm losing about 50 million because you guys didn't release it. In all honesty, was this going to be $1 billion movie? I don't think it was. I don't think Black Widow was good enough to be $1 billion movie.
It wasn't good.
So to say that, she lost the potentially 50 million, that's assuming that this movie's making $1 billion. I think it was 343 is what it made worldwide, which is still good numbers. I mean, the budget was 200 million, which is a lot. However much they spent in marketing, it's probably right now running at a loss, because the rule of thumb is whatever the budget is, you double it, because that's what the marketing budget is. So it probably cost them 400 million total to make. It's pulled in 343. Maybe when it goes on video or whatnot, it'll make more. But yeah, when I read this lawsuit, I was just like, could we, yeah. The other thing is this is pretty much signing that she's never going to do a Marvel film again, because Disney will not say, second you sue the House of Mouse, you're pretty much on their black books. They're not going to say, oh, all is forgiven. Here's the money you say we owe you, and come work for us again. They're not going to do it. This is it.
Yeah.
So to me, this is a whole lot of bridge burning.
But also the fact that Disney countered the idea and had mentioned how they felt sorry that, like, for her wanting to come at them at a time of COVID to come after them and all that. And first of all, Disney, get off your high horse. You're Disney. I mean, one actor.
Well, I mean, Disney because of the COVID shutdown, they lost a ton of money through their parks not having them running. Their parks.
Oh no, and I will totally acknowledge. I will totally acknowledge that. Yes, the fact that they've had to restructure their big money.
Yeah,
I mean, movies and whatnot is not it. It's their theme parks. Their theme parks around the world.
That said, their stocks are doing fine.
Oh, their stocks are doing fine.
Their stocks are doing fantastic
because they've been, like Disney hurting. Plus floated a lot of Disney's budget or Disney's profit margin. If they had not fired off Disney Plus, especially during COVID, like just before COVID, and let it skyrocket like it did, they would be hurting much more than they are. I mean, but that being said, it's not like they're turning out their pockets and showing lint. They could be burning $1 million a day and going, it's a nice bonfire, but we could be
slicing those beans apart.
Yeah, they're not cutting the beans so that they're like paper thin.
Yeah.
That's
Dave
not the
Sim
case.
had a great quote where he said, "No company will ever pay you enough to sue them successfully."
Exactly.
And I thought that was always a really good one-liner. So when you look at this kind of situation, if she's getting paid $20 million, that's a lot of money, right?
It is. It is.
But then on the flip side, if Disney did renege the contracts and you release it digitally at the same time, give a cut of that. Don't just keep it at the box office. It's like, okay, we've altered the agreement, just like Darth Vader in Cloud City. But the right thing to do would be, it's like, all right, count this as part of the box office.
I gotta say, it feels a bit kind of like bad faith negotiating on Disney's part. Just like, okay, so you're gonna get a cut of the box office, right? You're happy with that, right? Okay, perfect. All right, let's start this over to Disney Plus.
Yeah, but Gav, you have to realize when they wrote this contract, you got to remember this movie was like 3 years in development.
Yeah.
When they wrote this contract, COVID wasn't even in the news. It wasn't even. So when they wrote this contract, she was probably thinking this is going to be, $750 million movie. I'm going to make $50 million on the back end. They're going to pay me 20 up front. I'm looking at a $70 million payday.
Yeah, exactly.
COVID hits. This is something that that no one could have predicted. I agree. Disney should have said, "All right, we've put this movie off long enough. We're going to have to release it. Let's do a last minute, contract renegotiation. Get you some of the money you could have gotten if this had been non-COVID release."
Mm-hmm.
I think Disney did a dick move on that side, but I think what's probably going to happen is they're just going to throw some money at her. It's not going to be the $50 million that she's probably asking for, but it'll be enough to just say, all right, we're done. Because the thing is, now they've got Emma Stone saying, well, what about Cruella? That's kind of like the same deal. So yeah, I think part of it it's the fault's on both sides. Fault's on Disney side because they're just being greedy fucks like they usually are. And the fault is also on the actor side to say, I was supposed to get more money, ignoring the status of the world of what's been going on. To give you an example, MGM has been sitting on No Time to Die, the Bond film. They've been sitting on that film a year and a half. They have lost so much money having to pay back all the endorsements and all the toy endorsements that have been put on hold because the movie's been put on hold. So they're having to shell money out. MGM has been hemorrhaging cash left and right. Every day No Time to Die is unreleased, they just hemorrhage more money to the point where MGM is, basically they're facing bankruptcy. You've got a couple of different studios, including Disney, who are sniffing at their heels saying, can we buy part of your catalog and get you, out of the red? This is because they've been sitting on this film. So in Disney's case, you've got a film that's done, it's in the can. It can only sit on the shelf for so long before they're just going to have to finally say, we have to get it out some way or another. They put off this film how many times? And then finally said, screw it.
Exactly, yeah.
Limited theater release, and we're going to release it on our streaming service. We have to get it out. It's just costing us money to sit there. So let's at least minimize that amount of debt that it's accruing. So yeah, I can see why Disney said, screw it, we're just releasing it. We don't care at this point. But I think it's also a dick move on their part not to, say, all right, we understand the circumstances. Here's some of the cash you would have made, but maybe not all of it. So that's my take.
Yeah. And then when we come to the next article, we got something that is actually quite cool to actually see, that Amazon has got so much faith in their property of The Boys that even before they've finished filming season 3, they've actually announced that there's going to be a 4th season of The Boys. So that was actually released this week as well. So Amazon having great faith in their very well-structured series, The Boys, which is a fantastic thing to see.
How did you like Love Sausage? I knew that would be the reaction. For those who don't know, Boys season 2, they visit it's like a research facility. They're trying to give superpowers to people, and one of the inmates, right from the comic book, is Love Sausage, a man with a overly long prehensile male genitalia.
Yeah,
and he attempts to strangle people with it.
Yeah, that was so.
I'm watching this, and someone was up against this door with a small window in it, and all of a sudden the window breaks, and a long limb snakes out and wraps around his neck. And I'm like, oh, I wonder who that is. And then the limb gets hit a lot, and it starts to retract. And I see a foreskin. And the only thing I could think of at that point was, oh God.
Yeah, that character is Love Sausage. I honestly didn't think they were going to have the cojones to put him in to the
Apparently
series.
they had cojones. Well, they didn't show the cojones.
Is when they do the whole thing, like they peek, it's like, man. And the one guy says, that boy's packing. And I was like, is that going to be Love Sausage? And then that scene Gavin describes, I was laughing.
Again, it was
second the window breaks, and I was like, they did it.
Yeah. Again, I also knew about the character from the comic and all that. I'm like, there's no way they're going to do that. And there's no way that they're going to they've introduced the character. Okay, I understand. That's kind of funny and whatnot.
And then they use the character.
Oh, they use the character. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess it's Schrodinger's cock. I mean, you introduce it, you definitely have to use it. I mean, it's...
And the reaction of the actor when he realizes what had been wrapped over his neck.
Yeah. It was so
when Gavin had posted on Messenger, I instantly knew what he was referring to.
You know what? I didn't even think if that's where he was when he saw that. That's hilarious.
But I knew you were in season 2, Gav, and I knew that was at some point coming up at some point.
I was very, very happy to get to the end of season 2 because there is a lot of build-up and just a lot of story and stuff like that. And, when they introduced Stormfront at the beginning of season 2, I'm like, oh, she's a character with lightning powers. That's cool. That's a good... Oh, wait. Stormfront. Is that like an alt-right name?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, it's... Okay. Holy shit, she's an actual bona fide a Nazi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
fact
when
I saw the notice that Amazon had already greenlit season 4, I was just like, that's showing a lot of faith based off of the first 2 seasons and what they can see of season 3 as it's being finished up.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
I'm looking forward to season 3 for sure.
Oh, for
Mike,
sure,
have you seen any of The Boys?
I have not, except for a couple little parts, and that's just because that's a hard family show to watch.
That is true.
It is.
I can see it. Yeah, but you can watch some stuff without your family.
It is hard. Although, like, Garth Ennis is one of my favorite comic book writers, and this is something when going back to Marvel and the Disney Plus, and them trying to bring Deadpool into the Marvel universe. If they are going to do something that's R-rated, I do want Punisher Max. Yeah. Because those are some of my favorite comic books ever written.
I liked Punisher Warzone. I know a lot of people didn't like the film, but to me it was one of the best versions of Punisher. I mean, the Dolph Lundgren and the God knows what was the other one.
Tom Jane.
Yeah, Tom. I mean, they were, but Warzone was Punisher being Punisher and being completely unapologetic about it.
My favorite one was Daredevil season 2.
Oh yeah. John Bernthal is, to me, he is Punisher. Yeah. Like he
especially in that.
He got the pathos of Frank Castle, which is, when I watched the first episode with it, I was like, I want to see more of him. I don't give it. And so when Punisher came out, I was like, I'm watching this. I'm going to binge the bejesus out of this.
Out of curiosity, did you guys like Punisher season 2? Because I did not.
Yeah, that was weaker. Season 1 to me was really strong, but you could tell from all the different comic sources they were pulling that material from. Season 2 felt like the writers were kind of going on a limb, going, "We can come up with this stuff. It's not that hard." It is that hard.
That's exactly what I was going to say. They had a lot that they pulled from for season 1. They had a good, okay, cool. Now we know what we're doing. We can do our own sort of thing. And it definitely did suffer part of the actual.
I love the same thing as Game of Thrones. When they veered off the books because they had nothing to follow, you could tell.
It's like, hey, we can finish this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could definitely tell they were like, we're winging it. We're just winging it at this point.
Yeah.
All right. So that being said, we've got a couple of things coming up this week, as everyone might know that this Friday is the Suicide Squad is being released. The Suicide Squad is being.
Thank you for the assist, Gavin.
I was trying to come up with James Gunn's name, but I had Zack there, and I'm like, no, it's not Zack Snyder. It's no, and then the stumble. And
Nice
come out. Yes. No, it's actually
Zachary.
So James Gunn's releases his version of the Suicide Squad this Friday, and we have a fantastic cast of 16 characters. Potentially, everyone's going to die. I mean, it's in part of the actual marketing. Do not get attached to anyone. I mean, there's a chance.
My Deadpool is almost all red.
Yeah. So
I'm just smearing the whole thing with red.
Yeah. So what we've done amongst ourselves is we've printed up a card that has all 16 members of the Suicide Squad, and we are Xing out who we believe is going to not make it through this movie. For whatever reason, we're not coming up with the reasons or anything like that. We're just going to X off who is actually going to die. I believe I have.
Are we going to number them just for fun? Is anyone going to do that?
I was going to say that's going to be the extra bonus if you want to number them in the order that you think they're going to die, which makes the difficulty a little more impressive. There's also a chance that like a vehicle could be taken out with everybody, like 5 people could be killed in one shot. So I mean, I don't know if like you want to say like this person, then that person, then these 3 people are going to die in all once. So we're just going to put whatever order, like first, second, third, fourth, and fifth might go all at once. So anyways, but yeah, so if you want to check out our different social medias, we've actually listed a blank of a copy of that. It's on our Facebook. It's going to be on our Twitter. It's going to be on our Instagram. So you can go to any of those and you can download the image yourself if you want to reload it back up onto whatever you pulled it off, and we'll compare. Basically, you have until Friday to figure that out, because if not, it's cheating if you don't. And if you're one of those people that have already seen the movie and given out a review and you did it and you get perfect, we're gonna let that gonna fly. Yeah, exactly. But the other thing about it is it's kind of neat because while I haven't read any reviews, I haven't seen anything that says a negative connotation in its heading, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, I'm avoiding all the reviews because I figure it's Friday. I can wait that long.
Exactly.
I'm not going to look at any YouTube things. No, I'm just going to wait. Just wait and see. I have more than a 60% kill rate on my card, so yeah.
I think I'm around 60 as well. So I'm definitely past the halfway point. That's for sure. But
yeah, I think I have 10 of 16 buying it. So
I think I might have 8. I'd have to check it again, but 8 or 9.
The actual comic where they, there's not a single Suicide Squad mission where everyone comes home.
No.
I mean, it's kind of their thing.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, what we might also want to talk about now is one of the 4 of us had actually finished watching all the episodes of Masters of the Universe Revelations, and that would be Mr. pointing at himself, Mr. Michael. Well, no, you've already seen them all.
Now you just confused everything, Trevor.
Yeah, you're confused. Yeah, you're just making
throwing off the whole show.
I've seen all 5 of them too. If you want to go that way,
I'm out of here.
So we're just saying. So Mike has finally caught up with the rest of us.
Yes, exactly. And Michael has some things to say about his watch of Kevin Smith's Netflix Masters of the Universe. Go ahead, Michael. Take the floor. It's yours.
All right. Well, I was hoping that He-Man wouldn't get sidelined right at the start of the show and come back right at the end. That's my biggest complaint. It's like having a Batman movie without Batman in it. A Spider-Man movie, but you never see Spider-Man. Sometimes you can pull off things like that if you have, 100 series or 100 episodes in a series. You can, if it's say like Batman animated series, you can pull off an episode where it's about somebody else. However, we have 5 episodes, and we finally get to see He-Man again, and he's basically wiped out and sidelined the very first episode. Now, I did love the first episode. I thought that was a great one. There's big battles. It was epic. But then we go, was it 3 episodes really before we see him again? Then he shows up at the end. Erica walked in during episode 5. It's like, who's the Barbie Ken? It's Prince Adam. It's He-Man. But even the last episode is Barbie Ken. It's not He-Man. And then he gets stabbed at the end. And now I know some people online are saying, oh, you killed He-Man twice. It's like, okay, Kevin Smith's not stupid enough to kill He-Man. However, he did sideline him for the entire episode. Or I mean, in the entire series. And I think that was a mistake because I wanted to see He-Man. I wanted to see more Skeletor. It's like, come on, you got Mark Hamill doing Skeletor. Like, make him in every single episode because that's what gets me excited. But instead, we got Buffy the Vampire Slayer talking in a high pitch with her buddy, who's not even, I think, an action figure. Isn't that a made-up character?
She's made up for the series, yes. But she does now have a figure of her, but that's beside the point.
But right, it's, you know, the whole idea was it's supposed to continue on the series where it left off. But it sidelined all the fun stuff that I wanted to see. Except for episode 4. Oracle was a beast, and I loved that episode.
Okay, good. Okay, so I was hoping you'd get that way. Okay.
Last week when I was asking which was your guys' favorite episode you guys all said number 4 was really good. And we watched that. Not only myself, but my entire family, all the boys were like, Oracle is awesome. It's like, I know, right? He was a big dork back in the old days, but look at him. He's just kicking butt. So I did really like that episode. But because there's a second season, I hope that we get more of what it's supposed to be. Like, make it more centric to the main characters. Don't worry about all these secondary things. And I think they could land the ending of the second season.
Kevin Smith said that the second part, so it's not second season, it's literally part 2 of when the first season, I think. He said that there's going to be a lot more He-Man in the last part of the first season, which I think if they can, I already really liked how they portrayed Prince Adam. Like, they made him a scrawny kid, but he was He-Man at heart. Yeah. Like, and that whole comment where the champions of Eternia are all saying like, yeah, he's the only one who chose to remain in this form. It's like,
right.
Huh. So this is how he sees himself. And I thought that was brilliant. And if they can keep this,
I did like that line. For the record, I did like that. That's a good call, Gavin.
Okay,
they can keep the same level of characterization, like character development. I think it's gonna be like even better for the second half.
And also, if you listen to Kevin Smith's podcast this past week, where he had on the voice actor who did Orko, Kevin Smith let it slip that while there's going to be, Netflix is not only working on a computer generated version of a He-Man animated series, which is going to be completely separate from this, but that he actually let it slip that there is going to be a second full season of this that's going to come out later after that. And that the second part of the first season is going to be coming out at a later date that might be the beginning of 2022. So we might have a while to wait for the second part of Revelations. And then we do have a second season. It's just on one little thing that Kevin Smith just let slip, and then he tried to move on for his conversation. But you know what? There's a rewind button on podcasts now, so you can listen back to what he said. So we do have more of this. Also, the other thing I also want to point out is this was not He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. This series is Masters of the Universe. So there really was no. I understand. I understand.
I understand too. I had the same conversation with someone who's a huge He-Man fan. He was like, "It was He-Man and the Masters of the Universe." I'm like, "No, look at the title. It's Masters of the Universe." Just like the show Gotham is not all about Batman. It's about all the characters of Gotham. This was Masters of the Universe. Now, if it was tagged as He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, I'd be like, I'm pissed because I only got to see him, on the bookends. but this was Masters of the
and
Universe.
the small little flashbacks in each episode.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like they kept giving you a taste of Mark Hamill in each episode as through a flashback, and I kept thinking like, it's not enough.
One more.
Yeah,
please, sir.
It's like they're
sir,
like,
may I have
here's
some
your
more.
thin little wafer thin mint, and I'm like, no, I want more. So that when he showed up in the 5th episode, I was like, finally, he's back. And then that last sequence with him as the God Skeletor. I'm looking forward to this part 2 because I want to see how do they deal with God Skeletor. We don't know. Adam's not dead. He's just been hit through the liver. So it's Eternia. They got magic again. A couple of spells, he'll be good. So yeah, I mean, and I like the fact that they kept glossing over the fact that Teela's mom is the sorceress. Twice. Evelyn.
Yeah.
Kibosh that whole thing, and you're just like, is she gonna do it a third time? Maybe. So that's I mean, part of the reason why I like the series is it didn't give me what I expected. It didn't give me what that little fanboy inside, that the kid who played with the He-Man action figures. It gave me a twist on it. It gave me a that slight detour. It got me there. It wasn't the road that I expected. Which it's in some ways I kind of enjoy not getting exactly what I expected, because if I'm getting exactly what I expect, then there's no real entertainment value for me. It's like, yeah, I get to see what I wanted, but would
you really not want to see He-Man and Skeletor fight in every single episode?
Not in every. I mean, we saw that too much in Filmation. It was the same stupid punch, and Skeletor.
This is good animation. I mean, it won't be the same stupid punch. Every single episode's a different punch.
No, he'd have that punch right towards the screen every goddamn episode, or he'd do that stupid kick that just, yeah. I got so tired of seeing that, but I watched it every day at 7:30 in the morning on before school started. So, yeah.
I know I would enjoy that more than what I got.
Kevin Smith also let it drop that in the, I don't know if it was in one of the commentaries or it was on his podcast. Actually, if you guys want to see something that's really interesting on YouTube, go to Kevin Smith's YouTube channel, and he actually has a watch along commentaries on YouTube that sync up to the actual episodes. Kevin Smith sits down with each of the different directors of the first 5 episodes, and they talk about the episode while it's playing. It is so good.
That sounds
I don't have time.
The first episode is just
The first episode I had time for that, but I don't have time for that right now.
The first episode is just Kevin Smith sitting there by himself, and it's kind of cool because he's talking to camera and all that sort of thing. But he also somewhere in there let it slip that in the 6th episode there's a 5-minute fight sequence, like a nonstop 5-minute fight sequence. So
I'm all
Who's fighting? He-Man?
I can't remember if he said, you know what? Let's say it's Skeletor and He-Man fight for 5 minutes. Let's just say that. So right now, I'm not putting any money on it, but that's what I'm saying. So
now, wasn't there an episode of He-Man where Orko said because he was an attorney, his magic was screwy, but in his home dimension, his magic worked fine?
That sounds vaguely familiar, but
I remember seeing that something like it because at one point they visited his home dimension and he's the master magician. No, his magic is always doing exactly. In Attorney, it always a little screwy. So for me, episode 4, seeing Orko, pull out the big guns was. Mm-hmm. I remember I was sitting here watching. I'm just like, man, Orko's got some chops to him.
Yeah, that was the most emotionally satisfying episode too out of the whole.
Fun sidebar with Orko is that his voice actor Griffin Newman plays Arthur from the Amazon Tick series.
Yeah. It was nice finding out Orko's true name and all the pressures that he felt. They really used that episode well to kind of round out Evelyn and Orko at the same time, and give Orko a satisfying send off.
Yeah. But yes, I agree with you. I agree with you, Mike.
The send off, I was ticked off.
I agree with you, Mike.
He's awesome.
There needed to be more Skeletor. I don't care about more He-Man. I wanted more Skeletor.
I think
wanted more Stinkor.
I really enjoyed that they still gave Skeletor, some of those little buffoon moments. Mm-hmm. Like he'd go walk up and grab something, and he'd get flung back, doing that.
That was great.
All right. And the other thing I think we all got to this week was they released the second part of Batman The Long Halloween. And that concluded the one that was actually released about a month ago. Did we all get to see it, or did we not all get to see it?
I have not had a chance to watch it.
So it was just you and me, Trevor. All right. So do you guys want to go into this, or do you guys want to see it first? Because it's actually quite a satisfying conclusion to it. If you don't know how the story turns out and all that, I mean, we can totally put this on the back burner.
I know the comic books, so if you guys want to chat, that's fine.
Gavin, it's up to you.
I kind of want to find out for myself, honestly.
Okay, then we will move on. You know what? We can wait until next week. You have 1 week. Actually, you have 6 days because we're going back to...
Well, shit.
All right, so that's going to bring us to round 13 of our box office showdown. This, again, is something where we go to the website Box Office Mojo, and we take the top 100 films, and we take all the comic book movies that are in that top 100, and we put them in an elimination-style bracketing, and we pit the movies up against each other. And like I said, we are on round 13, and that's going to bring us against some heavy hitters, because, again, round 13, we have the number 1 position, which on the whole entire list has actually got a number 2 position, and that's 2019's The Avengers End Game, which at its grand total of its box office inpull for the whole entire world is $2,797,501,328. And the movie it's going up against the number 4 position, which actually is only in number 11, and that is 2015's The Avengers Age of Ultron, which brought in a total of $1,402,809,540. So we've already discussed these movies in length at times, quite long lengths and all that. But just to give a quick little rundown, the Avengers Endgame, after the devastating events of Avengers Infinity War, which was released the previous year, the universe is in ruins. With the help of the remaining allies, the Avengers assemble once more in order to reverse Thanos' actions and restore balance to the universe. So basically, again, it's another Russo brothers directing, the same Marcus and McFeely writers. And again, it's basically the whole entire MCU involved in this movie. And again, it was an epic end to a phase. Or wait, did we figure... was Homecoming?
Far From Home was
Far From Home was the last movie of the... So yes, so the penultimate movie to the end of a phase. So the end of the Infinity Gauntlet saga that we had been experiencing for these 11 years prior. So Avengers Endgame. What are your thoughts about this? Just quick little synopsis, because you don't really need to, again, we can rehash this. We can be here for another 3 hours talking about how we love this movie. There's a reason why it's made it this far, is because there is so much to like and so little not to like. Yeah, exactly. So
don't do it, Trevor.
Don't do it, Trevor. Don't. We need you, Trevor. We can deal without Gavin. You missed. What? I can't hear you. Goodbye, Gavin. So I'm going to start with
that Incredible Hulk music.
Oh, that's good. Doom, 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 doom. Doom, 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 doom.
He's just going to go get a drink.
Doom, doom, doom.
Gavin, put on some pants.
I'm wearing pants.
Oh. You're not Bobby Hill. Short pants aren't pants.
All right. So we have Avengers Endgame. And again, like I said, we're going up against another difficult one for us, because again, it's made it this far, and that's basically 2015's Age of Ultron. And that is described as follows. When Tony Stark and Bruce Banner try to jumpstart a dormant peacemaker program called Ultron, things go horribly wrong, and it's up to Earth's mightiest heroes to stop the villainous Ultron from exacting its terrible plan. Now, this movie is directed by Josh Whedon. It's also written by Josh Whedon, and it stars basically the base Avengers. And we're also introduced to the Wanda and Petra in this version of the Marvel Universe. We're also given life to Vision in this movie as well. So there's a lot of introductions done in this particular movie, and we have a lot of outros in Endgame. So what are your thoughts by comparing the two of them together? What do you guys think? Because I don't think we need to go into a huge conversation about this, because it's just, we're just going to rehashing the same old things. Now,
I'll be quick.
Okay.
Endgame. There's far, far, far too many fuck yeah moments in that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. Again, this is a visual thing, and we're trying to figure out what's going on here on the screen. Okay, so I enjoyed Age of Ultron. We were introduced to a bunch of really cool new characters. It had a fantastic opening. And like Michael has said before, it's the Avengers as the Avengers. It's the only movie where the Avengers are the Avengers. Anything prior to this and post this, the first Avengers movie, they're trying to work together. They do eventually get to work together at the end, but that's the end of the movie. Like, they spend the whole entire movie in fighting, figuring out who's the boss, and it's only in the last.
Tony Danza's the boss.
No, it's not Tony Danza.
Besides, it was Angela.
It's not Angela either. It's Mona. Mona is the boss. Okay.
Who pays the bills?
So it basically, the end of the Avengers, again, they come together eventually, but you spend a whole entire movie them fighting. Age of Ultron is the ultimate Avengers being the ultimate Avengers, especially that opening sequence when they're working in such great orchestrated beauty between them. I mean, it's fantastically shot. The banter is there, especially when they decide that Captain America can finally swear, and it's held against him. What?
Language,
exactly. I'm gonna pay for that.
Please
one, aren't I?
Please be Sugador. Yay.
Exactly. It is a very fun movie. There never is any, I mean, the character of Ultron is completely different than he is in the original comic book series, which is a kind of a nice twist to be able to get a creation which actually doesn't happen until a good third into the movie. We don't actually have Ultron being Ultron until a good part into the movie. And what the Avengers have to deal with is an immediate danger that escalates. I mean, Ultron escalates really quickly in this, like zero.
And the fact it's their own creation.
Exactly.
That's a big thing too.
Yeah. And it's just a devastation to these characters. We're introduced to some cool stuff. Like I said, we're introduced to Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. We're introduced to Vision. Vision is created in this movie. And
that's one thing. Speaking of the creation of Vision, when this movie was coming out, that's a character. It's like, how the hell are you going to pull off the android that can phase through things, who's humanoid and has the Scarlet Witch in love with him? Mm-hmm. It's such a bizarre idea, and they pull it off.
They do that.
Took it and they landed it. It's like kids when they do the water bottle flip game. It's like, oh my God, you landed it. Whoa.
Exactly. That is a great example for this time in history. 20 years from now, we'll have no idea what that means. Look it up on YouTube if YouTube still exists. We know TikTok won't. TikTok will be gone in a couple of years, but YouTube will be here forever.
Do it for the vine.
Yeah, exactly. Do it for the vine. Exactly. There you go, Michael. So yeah, I mean, there's so much introduced in this movie alone, and nothing seems shoehorned in. Nothing seems forced in. I mean, you're introduced
to Ultron's lips.
Yeah, no, again, we've talked about that before as well. How it was one of the few things that we really didn't enjoy about this movie is the animation of mechanical lips was not very good. We've seen other mechanical beings talk that are just as bad, Transformers, but it's just, again, we're also introduced to characters that have all this technology, and it's believable that this, I mean, the female scientist that actually has the ability to make the body of Vision, but again, I mean, we're given freaking Tony Stark beating the crap out of Hulk in the Hulkbuster. I mean, you can't, I mean, all the stuff we're given in this movie is spectacular in a 2-hour and 21-minute movie.
Yeah, now, they give you so much.
Yeah, you can only do so much, but you're given so much and all that. And we kill off a main character as well. We introduce a couple of characters, kill one of them off. Yeah, it just sets everything rolling. And of course, what happens at the end of this movie sets up what's going to happen in the rest of the Marvel Universe. This is another tentpole movie. It's basically setting up a new phase, and it's what happens in the next couple of movies is directly a result of what happened in this one. Now, when you come to our the movie that we're going up against, which again, Marvel's Endgame, it's the end of an era. It's so much on the screen, so much is given to you in so little of a time, the amount that they cover. I mean,
I just have to say about that, first of all, sorry to interrupt, but
yeah,
you're talking about how much they cram into the time. They also keep breathing room. There's moments where you can feel something. There's casual conversations.
Yeah.
So it's not just crammed with action, but they still let it breathe.
That is true. That is true. Yeah.
Tony and Cap chopping wood.
Well.
Yeah, in Ultron they do that.
Captain tearing wood apart.
That's a great moment. And then in Endgame, there's all like, you start off with killing Thanos. Like, how do you finish a movie after that? But then there's all these quiet moments, and there's character moments, and there's, Cap and Iron Man getting back together and becoming friends again and trusting each other. There's so much that happens where so many movies would just try and cram it with action, and it's just a CGI mess. But no, that they realize everything's built on the characters and everything that's come before that, and they let it breathe. Like, there's space in between, and it makes it great movies.
Yeah, and it basically goes from like action sequence to action sequence. But again, you do have that time to relax. You do have that time to decompress, and then you're like on a roller coaster. You're going up the clickety clack, clickety clack, clickety clack, come up to the top, the little turn, and then downhill. Yeah, exactly. And that whole entire going back up is your rest. You're like, okay, all right, we're gonna catch our breath. We're gonna go. Why are we going higher on this one? This one, I don't remember the second hill being bigger than the first hill. So yeah, I mean, it's a very difficult decision. Now, we already have one vote in because he decided he didn't want to say anything else about this. But what do you say, Trevor? What are your, like, when you choose the one, why are you choosing the one over the other?
Scale, sense of scale.
Really?
When I compare villains, Thanos versus Ultron, who's the bigger threat? So Age of Ultron, it's the Avengers working as the Avengers. First Avengers movie is them getting together. To me, Endgame is the Avengers, all of them assembling. This is all of the Avengers. He even said, he finally says Avengers assemble. This is the culmination of everything because it's a much bigger threat.
And I would say it's not just the Avengers. This is the ultimate Marvel crossover where you have to buy 100 comics over the summer because there's so many characters.
And yet we would do it. We'd still do it to
get the whole story. Because we were idiots.
We were idiots, but we wanted to see the story from all angles. We wanted to see how each part came together to make that big whole. And in terms of when I compare Age of Ultron to Endgame, I look at which movie would I watch if it was on TV, if I just like, stop here and watch. But also it's the scale of the movie. Yes, the cast, the heroes is bigger, but the villain is that much bigger as well. If anything, scaling up the hero side doesn't match how much they scale up the antagonist. Like, Ultron was a threat via the internet and whatnot. Thanos was a galaxy-wide threat. I mean, Ultron could never reach that point. I mean, maybe eventually, but in terms of the films, Thanos was such a big threat. And the fact that the movie leading to Endgame, Thanos won. He beat them. So yeah, it was, as Mike said, they start the movie off, they kill Thanos, and you're like, well, you're gonna go from here. And they're like, all right,
we have left?
We're gonna show you where we're going from here. And then they take you on a hell of a ride. And by the time you get to the end, you know, you have the death of Iron Man. You have Cap as an old guy. They're gone. They're off the Avengers. You know, it's
no more profit sharing.
Exactly. It's such a, to me, it's such a big. It's like comparing, you know, the roller coaster here, and then the much bigger roller coaster has the bigger payoff at the end, where you actually go underwater at one point. It's, you know, which one am I going to go in line and ride again? And if I have to choose, it's going to be Endgame. Endgame is going to be my choice as the better of the two. So that's my vote.
So one thing I thought you said interesting there, Trevor, is like, if it was on TV, which one would you choose to watch? Just, you know, to just jump in?
Yeah.
I probably would say Age of Ultron, because it has small bite-sized chunks that you can enjoy. If I was just flipping through channels and Endgame was on, I was like, I'm in for the whole thing. Like, see, you can't.
I've hit that point where, you know, Age of Ultron is on. If it's not at a point that's going to hook me and make me it basically encourage me to keep watching, I'll just keep going. There's really no part in Endgame that doesn't have that hook that's going to make me like, ooh. And then next thing I know, I'm down that rabbit hole, and 3.5 hours have gone by, and I'm, damn it, there's something else I was supposed to be working on, because it's hook after hook after hook, and you're like, ooh, this is going to happen, and then ooh, and yeah, and next thing you know, credits are rolling, and you're like, well, son of a bitch, I just wasted 3 hours.
Yeah, the kids were watching it. I was walking through just as Tony Stark is talking to his father during when they went back in time to the military base. It's like, ooh, this is a good part, and I find myself just sitting down. It's like, I'm in it for the ride now. Like, I can't leave.
Yeah, exactly. There's no part in Endgame that I would get up and like, I'd be like, no, I don't need to watch, because at any point in that film, that scene starts and you're like, okay, I'm in it. I'm in it to the end. Age of Ultron, there's not as many points. Like, there are points where I could definitely like, okay, yeah, and let's keep flip the channel.
Right, you can watch Hulkbuster versus Hulk.
Yeah,
once
and
the
then I'll be
fight's
like,
done,
all
it's
right,
like, that was cool. Okay, I can walk away at this point.
Yeah.
Or
Endgame,
like
they link them one next to the other, so that once you sit down, once you watch that one little chunk, before you know it, you've watched the rest of it, and you're like, damn it, I was supposed to go do something. Yeah. So that's why my vote's for Endgame as the better film.
Yeah. For me, it's like both movies have a lot of great moments. And I think it's neat where we're getting into the showdown now, where the movies keep connecting in certain ways. Like, one of my favorite moments in Age of Ultron is Captain America picking up the hammer for the first time, and we see it move.
Yeah,
right. But Endgame,
I'm like, we have the
payoff. You really see it move.
Yeah.
Right?
They I think the Russo brothers did it really well. Where I think they studied all the movies in the past and said, okay, here's the setup. Let's do the payoff. Here's a setup.
They did.
Thinking that, I mean, honestly, I think Spider-Man, the film that came after, could have honestly been the start of Phase 4. Phase 3 could have ended with Endgame, because it was the perfect end point.
It could have, but I do think Spider-Man was a great epilogue.
It was a great epilogue, but honestly, it could have been the start of Phase 4, because Phase 4 is going to be somewhat of picking up the pieces after Endgame. Where they can, you have more movies now where we can see how different things are going on and picking up some of the pieces in the aftermath. Just like in WandaVision, we have people coming back from the snap. That's, to me, that's a great foundation to start from. So yeah, that's why my votes for Endgame is, of the two films, Endgame to me is the better film.
Okay, so
I think like all you guys had good things to say. I definitely agree with Trevor with Like the bigger threat, the better villain. That's always a good way to gauge it. If you think about favorite moments, like the things that make you stand up and cheer, both movies had it in spades. But again, back to the water bottle flipping analogy, like you can't deny that this was the biggest water bottle flip landing of all time. The fact that you were able to take all the movies before, end with a movie like Infinity War, and actually land the thing in a way where everybody's satisfied, everybody's cheering. It's such a great movie experience. So yeah, my vote goes to Endgame.
In some ways, I'm still kind of deaf from the audience cheering when Mjolnir comes back and lands in Cap's hand. It was so deafening in that theater.
Yeah,
I think everyone had got ear damage from that one, because that was just like, oh my God, can people really be conceivably this loud? We could drive a dragster right through the center of the theater and no one would have noticed.
And that's the thing, is as a comic book nerd, it's like, of course I'm going to love that moment, but the fact that everybody loved that moment.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that I think in older movies, it was kind of like, you'd be sitting there and you would like, yes, and then you'd be like, oh shit, that was out loud. But yeah, this
you couldn't hear yourself say yes because it was so loud theater. I think this is why Marvel films are kicking the bejesus out of the DC films, because DC is trying to have those moments, those big yes moments, but there's no build up to it.
Right, they haven't
earned them.
Yeah, it's like Marvel's like, we'll wait 10 films to give you that payoff and give you that yes moment. DC's trying to like, well, 15 minutes ago we did this, so now we want you to scream yes. And you're like, I don't care that they said Martha.
See how much like the Avengers we are in this scene? You like the Avengers, so like us. Please?
Yell yes. Come on.
Please?
Anyone going to yell yes? Anyone? You yell. Oh, no. Okay, you were yawning. Yeah.
Oh, you. Oh, no, he's choking on popcorn.
All right.
I will say as a quick aside, the photos from the upcoming Flash film have got me a little excited of seeing Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton as Batman. And I do like the bike. That is a nice looking. I just don't think it can corner. But
I didn't see the bike.
Oh,
there's only like two far away, zoomed in, blurry cell phone camera shots of but it looks like a good sort of thing. So what I'm gonna say is what I enjoy about what Disney Plus has done with their series, especially WandaVision, is given us extra meat for Age of Ultron. I love how we now have more backstory of the characters and how that extra stuff works perfectly for what we've already seen. It doesn't add anything extra to make it seem too intrusive with Age of Ultron. Like, they didn't reveal anything that was not already known. They just expanded on information that we got and all that. So that being said, even though that is afterwards, the fact that we have so much, again, I'm going to the character development. There's no one new in Endgame. Okay. There's no one new. We're introduced to everybody. We've got a younger Thanos, a 5 years ago Thanos, or however long ago he was from before he travels into the present day or whatnot, before he actually had all the Infinity Stones, and all the characters are already given to it. We have Fat Thor now, which is, again, a perfect way that the character would have developed after what he went through in the end.
They were going to say perfect cosplay for the rest of us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it was nice to be introduced to brand new characters, and they were fully fledged characters by the end of the movie, even though like Vision wasn't in it for very long. Of course, they expanded on it in future films and all that. And by the time we get to Infinity War, characters are completely different than what they were in Civil War and whatnot. But that's what happens when teams split up and worlds starts to change and whatnot. I really enjoyed the interaction of the smaller group, but we also got that in Endgame because we had the groups that were together were interacting with each other and all that. Like Tony Stark being stuck on the ship with Nebula was, even though there isn't much there, and friggin' what's her face? Gillian?
Karen Gillian.
Karen Gillian, sorry. Her reacting to Robert Downey Jr.'s line delivery seems so fluid, so improvised, right? And her like trying to figure out if he's being serious with stuff and all that sort of thing is kind of cool. I mean, the two of them acting together. Then you got the whole entire council down on Earth where where Black Widow is in charge and everyone's like coming to her with all the stuff, and even the tiny little things. Ooh, there was an earthquake underwater off the coast of Africa, and like, should we investigate? And like, no, it was an earthquake underwater, the whatnot. I mean, it's just laying
Namor
seeds.
has to come later.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, they did a lot of seed laying in Endgame, and
Spock will come eventually.
Yeah, eventually. Yeah. So, I mean, like everyone else here, both movies are great for their things, and it is the scale that puts Endgame over the edge for me as well. The spectacle of the movie is what makes it so much more enjoyable. There aren't very many stand-up and cheer moments in Age of Ultron. There are at least 5 stand-up and cheer moments in Endgame that everyone experienced. You can be at a theater on day 1 and then day 20 before the movie comes out, because movies aren't in the theaters that very long. And you'll experience stuff in the first viewing that you wouldn't in whatever you are 20 weeks later. But in Endgame, first day, last day in the theater, those, I'm just going to say 5 particular moments always happen. There's always the cheer. There's always the friggin' Avengers Assemble on your left, friggin' getting the hammer. It's just
Thanos getting his head chopped off.
Thanos getting his head chopped off. Like, yeah.
Don't lose your head.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, we got to give it to Endgame. There's no doubt about that. All right. So we're going to move on to our next segment. What was that?
Thing for Mike here. Hold on.
What? You got a little thing for Mike here?
Yep. There you go, Mike.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, that's kind of neat. It's very Tron.
That's Gotham's ass.
That's the. Now you notice they hid the front wheel.
Yeah, I was about to say, wait, that I hadn't seen this profile shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's to make it actually steerable, because this giant tire would never turn.
So obviously that's the Ben Affleck one.
Yes.
This is the Affleck. It's like the Bat Blade, or whatever the hell they're calling it. But yeah, it's an enormous. But that's going to be in the Flash movie. So.
Yep.
So there you go. Now you've seen it.
Cool.
Gotham's ass.
And just to get a little off note right now, Teletoon in the background is now playing Batman the Animated Series. So you'll have to excuse me if I get distracted. All right. So that's going to bring us to our question and answer period and all that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop in the question, that whole entire montage and all that, but I've cut it down to like 15 seconds. It's no longer the long 45, 50-second one that Adam gave us. So I'll just drop it in there. So I believe that we have our first question coming from Mr. Trevor himself.
Me? Who? Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
What would your question be?
If Thor and Hulk had been around in Civil War, what side would they have taken? Cap or Iron Man?
Now, I do know that we had a bit of a conversation and all that, but let's rehash that for the fact that for our listening audience, let's bring out that. Who brought up the fact first? Who was the first one to bring up?
Gavin answered it first.
There you go.
So, yeah, I think Thor would be just really irritated by the fact that it's just petty human squabbles, and probably try to do his best to work with all of his friends, try to get them to enjoy a big mug of mead or something with them. Bruce Banner, I think, would probably feel the Hulk needs to be regulated somehow, so I would say probably Team Iron Man, but the Hulk wouldn't give a shit. The Hulk would basically just go with whoever is nicest to him.
So you don't think that Bruce would automatically team with Iron Man?
I think he would probably side with Iron Man just because he feels that with the Hulk being as uncontrollable as the Hulk is,
right,
that would be the side that might be able to figure out some way to control him in some way. But the moment he changes into the Hulk, all bets are off. It's whoever basically gave Hulk a candy bar last.
So okay, but that's the thing though. At this point, doesn't Natasha have her?
Yeah, she's got a little
her effect over Hulk. Doesn't she have the calming effect over Hulk at this point? So technically,
that's been broken after Age of Ultron.
I don't know if it was broken. I mean,
Hulk left. Hulk's like, screw you guys. I'm going.
But this is assuming Hulk doesn't leave. This is assuming that Hulk doesn't leave and Thor doesn't take off to go find out about Infinity Stones. That they're around for Civil War. So,
but it seemed to me after Age of Ultron, things are a little bit broken.
Oh, right, because at the end, I see what you're saying. Yes, because at the end of Age of Ultron, Bruce flies off, right?
Yeah.
Well, she pushes him off a cliff to make him turn into Hulk, and he goes and does some smashing.
Yeah, he goes and takes out Ultron,
then throws a hissy fit and pouts and flies away.
Yeah, and that's what then that's when he takes off. So we're saying in a scenario where he doesn't take off. So
by the time it's Civil War, that moment still happened.
It still happened, but
fly away. He's still on Earth.
He's still on Earth.
But he's still throwing a hissy fit.
Okay, I see where we're going for that. Okay, so he probably won't. Okay, now I see. Okay, I see where we're going.
Yeah, because the thing is, Banner is logical. He fully comprehends what's going on. The Hulk, he's not Smart Hulk yet.
Yeah, he's not Professor Hulk. Now, my take is, in terms of the Banner Hulk thing, Banner's going to side with Tony. Because he needs the Hulk regulated. Hulk is going to side with Cap because Cap lets him smash. I mean, from Avengers, where he's like Hulk, he turns smash, and that brings out the smile on the Hulk's face. So in Hulk's mind, Cap is to follow because Cap lets him smash.
And Iron Man did try and beat up Hulk.
Exactly. That was the other thing is Iron Man and Hulk right now are not really simpatico.
Yeah.
So he's going to see Iron Man. He's going to see the red and gold and like, wait a minute, this guy punched me in the face a lot. I don't like this guy.
Okay.
On the other side with Thor, I think he would side with Cap because he's not going to let any human agency regulate him. He's not going to let any human agency say, you can't go here, or you have to go here. He's going to like, do you realize who you're talking to? And so that's why I think if he had to choose a side, he would probably choose Cap's side because Cap is saying the government can't regulate us. And Thor would be like, well, exactly, they can't regulate me. So that's why I would say, Hulk would be on Team Cap unless he switched to Banner, and in which Banner would go to Iron Man. And Thor would be on Team Cap because he says, no, the government can't tell him what to do. Only one person can tell Thor who to do, and that's Odin, and Odin's not around.
Yeah, for myself, it's a multi-tiered answer. So I agree with both of you guys. I think just to answer the question as clearly as possible, Thor would join Cap because, like you guys said, he doesn't care about these earthly, silly contests. And Captain America actually picked up the hammer and he saw it. So he knows who's worthy. Is he going to get in a fight with him? No, he's going to join Cap's side. Bruce Banner's going to join up with Tony because they're the scientists and they did the Hulkbuster and they're going to handle it from a scientific point of view and the regulation. So that would be like the most kind of clear-cut base level answer. I do agree as soon as Hulk gets into the picture, he's just going to smash. It is whoever's in his way.
Whoever offers him a Snickers.
Yes. So I do think there's something about that. But ultimately, I think the top level is you would get Team Thor. It would be Thor, Hulk, and Daryl. And they would kick everybody's asses.
Yeah, good old Daryl.
And just like the Milner on the toilet seat.
Yeah.
Going to the gas station.
All right. So moving on to our other question is we have a question sent in from our regular Adam Blendick. And the question is, what was your least favorite background property character in the new Space Jam? He also puts in a message saying that mine was Voldemort with a nose. Second place, track pants wearing flying monkeys. He also said to feel free to expand this to other films like Ralph Breaks the Internet or Ready Player One. Now, I myself...
I'll jump right in for Space Jam. I'm going to go first. I think it's probably the story. I didn't see it, but I think that was the worst background character.
There was a story?
Oh, damn it, you! How could it be a background character if there was no story?
He wasn't even there. The story didn't even bother to show up. It was just a bunch of cocktail napkins.
So I read a brief list of there was like so many lists of characters because I did not watch this movie. I did not plan on watching this movie. I do not plan on watching this movie. My daughter got a Happy Meal today, and it was Space Jam 2. I'm thrilled because it was a Tasmanian Devil toy, and that means I don't have to get any more toys from McDonald's for Space Jam 2 because I got my Taz toy.
I got a bunch of Yosemite Sams.
Oh, I got you. Oh, and you probably in the States got completely different toys than us too. I mean, but yeah, we had stuffed DC characters when you had the friggin' Star Wars spaceships, which seemed to go longer than me. But I'm getting off track here because now I'm getting pissed at the fact that Canada gets crappy McDonald's toys. Where was I going? Oh yeah, so there was like lists and lists and lists and stuff like.
Put it away.
Like Rick and Morty show up in this movie.
Stop geeking off, Trevor.
Yeah, Rick and Morty show up in this movie. There's references to Clockwork Orange. There is Wizard of Oz stuff in it. There is it seems like The Mask apparently shows up. Jim Carrey's The Mask. I mean, they go to Themyscira. They go to Themyscira. They go to Themyscira where in they Space actually Jam? Yeah, in Space Jam 2. Apparently they go to Themyscira, and that's where they pick up Lola Bunny, who's training to be an Amazon. They actually pluck her out of a sequence from Wonder Woman 84 to bring her into this movie.
And Wonder Woman's over animated hair. Have you seen the over animated hair?
I have not. I've only read. I've
everyone,
just done.
Go to YouTube, Space Jam 2, Wonder Woman, watch the scene. So whoever got handed that scene and said, yeah, just make her hair blowing in the breeze, channeled Pocahontas and thought, let's animate on ones, and went like ape shit over it. It is such an oh my god.
Okay, we're gonna pause recording for a second because this seems too much to miss. Someone bring
it, and then they wandered away. It was playing in the background.
Oh, we're recording again.
So it turns out only one of us actually watched bits and pieces of this movie, and that was about it.
I have nothing to contribute to this conversation.
Yeah, no, exactly. We did watch the animated sequence of Wonder Woman.
Who's got some loudness going on?
I don't know.
Gavin, is that you?
What are you hearing?
There it is. Yeah, I hear it now. It's not in time with what I've got in my background, so I don't know if it's me.
But yes, it was just like, it was Derek actually that said, watch Wonder Woman's hair. And I was like, what? And I looked, I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. It was just, someone's like, hey, I'm here for the week. I'm going to animate some hair and I'm going to animate everything on ones and goodbye. It was just like a hyperactive 4-year-old.
How's it going, guys?
Yeah, it was like,
no, did you guys hear about that new DC movie?
So this is,
I wouldn't know how to animate that scene.
Okay, when we go to
her hair, just maybe a little bit like, but oh no, it's like her own personal tornado was behind her head, and the hair was reacting, and it was just like, oh God, guys, really. So yeah, when I read Adam's question, I was like, can I say all of it? Did I say the whole damn thing? Like, but I mean, if I have to think about it, if this is supposed to be a kids movie, why the hell is Pennywise in the movie?
Yes, Pennywise is in this movie as well. And
again, I will say all my kids love Pennywise.
I mean, I personally, I love the new It movies. Skarsgård did a great job, but I don't think that character should be showing up in what should be a kids movie. If this is supposed to be a kids movie, I don't know.
Yeah, the whole thing's strange. Do you guys remember seeing the first Space Jam back during the Sheridan days?
Yeah.
That was one of the most horrific experiences of my life.
I remember.
So, go ahead.
When did it come out? 96. Yeah, so we were right at the tail end.
Yeah.
Because we knew people that worked on it, that would have been ahead of us, and yeah, it was just like, wow.
And I remember thinking this might be another Roger Rabbit. It's kind of cool. It's like live action cartoons.
They kept trying to shoehorn in pop culture references.
Yeah,
like they had, was it Yosemite Sam and Elmer Fudd doing a Reservoir Dogs thing. But I guess in Space Jam 2, they do a bunch of call outs to various, historical things or how are people going to know about how are kids going to know about some of these things? Like I remember seeing in Space Jam thinking, how are kids going to know who the Reservoir Dogs are unless their parents are really terrible people? So yeah, and I guess Space Jam 2 has a lot of those as well. Let's call up stuff that kids will have no clue about. So yeah,
anything that Warner Brothers has, let's just throw it in there. So yeah. All right. So what about any other movies? Like it says here, so Ralph Breaks the Internet. There's a lot of Disney properties that are involved in this, which is kind of neat. Even Star Wars.
Well, Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet is nice because they contain it to the various areas of the internet. So the Star Wars and stuff like that, but they don't bash you in the face. I mean, they do the whole Disney princesses thing, which was a cute little sequence.
Yes. Which is a fantastic sequence, actually.
Yeah, and the fact that they got all the original voice actresses to play their roles was a nice touch, but it's not, the key moments of the movie are not based on those. It's just it's like when you see them traveling to the different parts of the internet and the different physical representations or visual representations of what these parts of the internet are. To me, that's
one movie where I thought it was going to be disastrous, because it's a sequel and they're trying to jump on the whole social media bandwagon of things. But I thought the movie did it well.
Yeah, I like Wreck-It Ralph.
When Ralph's trying to do eBay and he's bidding against himself, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
And seeing the visual representations of what the internet could be like. Because we all had our cyberpunk days and we had our visions of what the internet could be if you get fully immersed, and I thought this is a funny way to represent that.
It was.
So I like the fact that those movies did well.
The little ways of traveling around the internet, and Ralph gets crunched into one. It was great.
Yeah.
Ready Player One. I know they got licensing from everyone that they could to throw the characters in, and that's kind of like what the internet would be. If you say, here's a big open world and you can be any character you want, you're going to get a lot of people trying to grab the name brand characters, from video games and movies and everything else. You're going to someone who's going, I want to be Batman, I want to be Superman, and so on and so forth. And to me, it was a very accurate representation of that culture. So it worked.
It was it's the Who Framed Roger Rabbit of the modern day.
Exactly. But they expanded it just past Disney and Warner Brothers.
But no, for sure. Yeah.
Now, I will say for Ready Player One, I haven't seen the movie, but my daughter read the book, was a huge fan of it, and saw the movie. And she was disappointed with all the movie references that were in the actual film, because it didn't quite represent what was in the book. She said it was a lot of Steven Spielberg stuff, just kind of crammed in. Well,
that's just it. Like I read the book first and then saw the movie, and then I read some of the stuff. Some of the licensing they couldn't get. They just couldn't get. And Spielberg actually wanted to pull more of his stuff out of the film, but they're like, we have nothing to replace it with, because we couldn't get some of the licenses for the other things that they have in the book. So they're like, we either use this or or use just something generic, and then it's even worse. So I think the compromise they made was pretty good. I don't know how a movie of Ready Player 2 is going to work, but we'll see.
Plus, didn't the original author also have something to do with the script treatment as well? Didn't they go to him for script treatment or something like that?
Yeah, they got it for some things, but the biggest thing was getting the licensing from all these different companies. Yeah. And some of the companies were just like, nope, I don't care how much money you throw at us. Nope. And some of these are like very integral parts of the book, and they're like, well, shit.
Like Voltron and the Super Saiyan Sentai Spider-Man robot and all that stuff, like the Gundams. There was none of that in the movie, and there was this whole sequence in the book where I've got it in my head, and I'm going like, oh, this is gonna be great to see it on the big screen, and wow, what a letdown in terms of
they having to use Mechagodzilla instead, having to use Gundam instead. You were like, this isn't how it was in the book, but then you realize they just couldn't get the rights. And rather than say, oh, we're just going to make a generic character to fill it, they got who they could get the rights for. And as I said, it's like, you're trying to put together a statue of like Venus de Milo, and you're told you can't use marble. And you're like, okay.
In the case of Ready Player 2, because my daughter's reading that one now, the amount of Tolkien that's in it, Silmarillion, I'm like, Amazon just paid a whole ton of money. There's no way in hell you're using that.
No. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of compromise they go there. I mean, Bezos has enough money to send his dick rocket into space, so maybe they could offer him something else.
Just put that in it. Ready Player 2 is just a dick rocket.
There you go. But yeah, it's so jumping back to Adam's question. There was just so many issues with characters they had in Space Jam 2 that it was such a mishmash. It's like they couldn't decide if this was going to be a kid's movie or an adult movie or something in between. Hey, we'll have something for everybody, but then it just doesn't.
They weren't even sure if it was a movie.
Yeah. Again, they were like, "Hey, we got LeBron. He's Michael Jordan. Let's do Space Jam 2." And then they're like, "Well, what kind of personality should we have LeBron? Let's make him a grumpy dad." Completely opposite of how he presents himself. Let's make him the curmudgeon dad who demands that his kids follow in his footsteps, because that's exactly who he is, isn't it? And I think in some way, I saw the scene where they have like the Warner Brothers execs trying to pitch him stuff, and I'm thinking this probably happened in real life. Them trying to pitch him a movie, him like, oh fuck no, and they're like, well, we'll drive a truck full of money up to your house, and he's like, and they're like, and your kids will love it. Let's just do it. Fuck it, okay. So that honestly just felt like every scene that I watched, people were just kind of phoning in their performances, like, fuck it, okay, let's just get this scene done. That's what it felt like. Even the people, like even the animated characters, it's like the voice actors, like, fuck it, let's just say the lines. Give me my paycheck. Let me go home.
All righty then. So on that note, I think we're going to wrap up this particular episode. I want to thank everyone for sticking with us for the length of this particular one. Hopefully everyone had some fun listening along. I'm pretty sure we had some fun. No, I'm getting some no's. I'm getting some maybes. I'm in a little bit of an E sort of thing, but we're going to say goodnight right here, gentlemen. And we're going to go with the...
Good night right here, gentlemen.
Good night right here, gentlemen.
Oh, is that what we're supposed to say?
I guess that's what we're doing right now.
I don't know.
Good night, everybody. Collective advice. We're going to do this again. Collective advice. Yeah.
All right, let's do that. Let's harmonize. We're getting better at that.
3, 2, 1. Collective
goodbye.
Oh, I didn't get the wave in there. Sorry, guys. Okay.
Oh, let's do it again then.
No, we'll try again next week. All right. Talk to you guys later. All right. Bye.
You have just been listening to Geeking Off the Page with your hosts, Mike Kitchen, Gavin Burbage, Trevor Brown, and Troy Bowman. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Also, if you could leave us a rating and comment, that would assist in allowing others to find this podcast more easily. You can follow the podcast on the following social platforms: Instagram and Twitter, search for @PlanetGeekPod, all one word. On Facebook, search for Planet Geek Productions. Or you can send us an email to planetgeekpod@gmail.com. Buy the guys a coffee by going to ko-fi, ko-fi.com/planetgeekpod. And know that any and all donations will go towards improving all current and future Planet Geek Productions programs. Thank you for listening.